at this point. Certainly, there are questions about having a senator who's a dual citizen, but I think this is really more about the perception of how this would play in a state like Pennsylvania, a state that overwhelmingly elects white men to statewide office. And in some ways, yes, it would be sort of notable for Oz to be elected just because of his background. But I think, again, the McCormick campaign is sort of banking on this idea of, we're going to otherize this guy. We're going to sow this, this idea that he has different allegiances. And watching Oz try to kind of combat that has been interesting.
Because he already flip-flopped, saying he wouldn't renounce his Turkish citizenship, but if he became a senator, he would, but that it's racist. So he would do the racist thing to become a senator.
Do you have a sense of what his politics actually are?
I think with anybody who has been in the public eye as long as Mehmet Oz, and in the capacity that he has as sort of an entertainment personality, yeah, he's absolutely said things that I would say a Republican politician probably wouldn't have said. He's been pretty supportive of the Affordable Care Act, of the idea of people having access to health care. That's one of the big ones that has sort of come back to haunt him a little bit in these ads. There's superficial things, like he very recently got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and there was a photo that went around of him kissing it, which is, the perfect thing for Dave McCormick to put into an attack ad and say, he's a Hollywood liberal and, he doesn't share our Pennsylvania values. On the subject of our Pennsylvania values, I should say, McCormick until very recently lived in Connecticut, although he is from Pittsburgh. Oz until very recently lived in New Jersey. He went to school at Penn, but other than that, like his Pennsylvania connection is really just because his wife grew up here. So we have a lot of, I would say two relatively similar candidates in terms of their backgrounds, not like they had the same job, but just in terms of their connections to the state and their politics over the years, really shifting very hard right quite recently. There's a lot more in common there than I think they would want you to understand.
So there have been multiple reports that they have been courting former President Trump, seeking his endorsement.
So they're traitors.
Any indications if Trump is leaning one way or another, and will that actually matter?
We should go straight to Putin.
So we haven't really had much of an indication from Trump himself. He already
probably funded him to begin with.
Very, very early on in this race. He endorsed Sean Parnell, who was a very close ally and who had run for Congress before unsuccessfully. But Parnell dropped out of the race. He was in a very nasty divorce, and it came out that allegedly he had hit his wife, hit his kids, and he dropped out of the race. And so Trump has not gotten back in there. Parnell did endorse Dave McCormick, who kind of eagerly accepted that, maybe as sort of an endorsement by proxy. But no, we still see both of them really courting Trump, trying to get former staffers who were associated with Trump onto their campaigns. We have seen rhetoric that really, really closely mirrors Trump. I went to an event with Oz, and he was saying things about, the elites in Washington, they don't share our values. They want to change our values. And so there's this idea of really trying to form like this camaraderie with Pennsylvanians, rural people, people who kind of feel disaffected by loss of industry, that in the same way Trump did. And whether they're going to be successful in that, who's to say? But, obviously either one of these candidates would jump at an endorsement.
We're going to have to leave it there. Katie Meyer,
jump straight into Traitor Circle.
Thank you for joining us today.
Jump straight into the
takeaway is supported by Indeed with Instant Match.